In this video, we are going to discuss about the functions, components, and energy flow in ecosystems. Functions of an ecosystem. In any ecosystem, we have the following functional components: inorganic constituents such as air, water, and mineral salts; organisms such as plants, animals, and microbes; energy input which enters from outside, that is, the sun. These three interact and form an environmental system. All the living organisms, whether plants or animals in an ecosystem, have a definite lifespan, after which they die. In an ecosystem, energy from the sun is fixed by plants and transferred to animal components. Nutrients are withdrawn from the substrate, deposited in the tissues of the plants and animals, cycled from one feeding group to another, released by decomposition to the soil, water, and air, and then recycled. The ecosystems operating in different habitats such as deserts, forests, grasslands, and sea are interdependent on one another. The principal steps in the operation of ecosystem are: reception of radiant energy of sun by the plants, manufacture of organic materials from inorganic ones by producers through the process called photosynthesis, consumption of producers by consumers, and further elaboration of consumed materials. After the death of producers and consumers, complex organic compounds are degraded and finally converted by decomposers and converters into such forms that is suitable for reutilization by producers. The principal steps in the operation of ecosystem not only involve the production, growth, and death of living components, but also influence the abiotic aspects of habitat. It is clear that there is transfer of both energy and nutrients from producers to consumers and finally to decomposers and transformers levels. In this transfer, there is a progressive decrease of energy, but nutrient component is not diminished and it shows cycling from abiotic to biotic and vice versa. The flow of energy is unidirectional. The principal steps and components of ecosystem are illustrated in this figure. Producers, consumers, and decomposers. The biotic community of an ecosystem can be divided simply into producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers or autotrophs are organisms that make their own organic material from simple inorganic substances. For most of the biospheres, the main producers are photosynthetic plants and algae that synthesize glucose from carbon dioxide and water. Consumers or heterotrophs are organisms that obtain molecules by eating or digesting other organisms. By eating other organisms, they gain food as an energy supply and nutrient molecules from within the biomass ingested. Consumers are of three types. Herbivores are the animals that eat only plants. Carnivorous are the animals that eat only animals. Omnivorous are the animals that eat both animals and plants. Decomposers are the waste managers of an ecosystem. They are small, like worms, insects, bacteria, and fungi. They are the final link in a food web and break down dead organic material into smaller particles and finally into simpler substances that are used by plants as nutrition. Decomposers can be divided into two groups based on their mode of nutrition. First one is detrivorous. They are the organisms that ingest non-living organic matter. These can include earthworms, beetles, and many other invertebrates. Second one is saprotrophs. These are the organisms that live on or in non-living organic matter, secreting digesting enzymes into it and absorbing the products of digestion. These include fungi and bacteria. The figure shows the relationship between producers, consumers, and decomposers. Next topic is energy flow in ecosystem. Every ecosystem has several interrelated mechanisms that affect human life. All the functions of the ecosystem are in some way related to the growth and regeneration of its plant and animal species. These interlinked processes can be depicted as various cycles. These are the water cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle, and energy cycle. All these processes depend on energy from sunlight. Now let's see each cycle one by one. Water cycle. The water cycle describes how water evaporates from the surface of the earth, rises into the atmosphere, cools and condenses into rain or snow in clouds and falls again to the surface as precipitation. Carbon cycle. Carbon is a building block of both plants and animal tissues. The carbon cycle is the process in which carbon travels from the atmosphere into organisms and the earth and then back into the atmosphere. Plants take carbon dioxide from the air and use it to make food. Animals then eat the food and carbon is stored in their bodies or released as carbon dioxide through respiration. Oxygen cycle. It is a cycle whereby atmospheric oxygen is converted to carbon dioxide in animal respiration and regenerated by green plants in photosynthesis. This links the oxygen cycle to the carbon cycle. Deforestation is likely to gradually reduce the oxygen levels in our atmosphere. Plant life plays an important role in our lives. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is a biogeochemical process. Nitrogen is converted into many forms, consecutively passing from the atmosphere to the soil to organism and back into the atmosphere. It involves several processes such as nitrogen fixation, nitrification, denitrification, decay, and putrefaction. Atmospheric nitrogen and nitrogenous compounds in the soil are converted by nitrification and nitrogen fixation into substances that can be utilized by green plants, the substances returning to the air and soil as a result of the decay of the plants and denitrification. Energy cycle. The energy cycle for life is fueled by the sun. The main end product for plants and animals is the production of highly energetic molecules like ATP, a compound that provides energy. These molecules store immediately available energy to allow plants and animals to do their necessary work. Since plants can grow by converting the sun's energy directly into their tissues, they are known as producers. The producers are used by herbivorous animals as food, which gives them energy. A large part of this energy is used up for day-to-day activities. The carnivores in turn depend on herbivorous animals on which they feed. The different plant and animal species are linked to one another through food chains, and food chains has 3 or 4 links. When plants and animals die, this material is returned to the soil after being broken down into simpler substances by decomposers. Animals excrete waste products after digesting food, which goes back to the soil. This links the energy cycle to the nitrogen cycle. This figure shows the energy and nutrient transfer through an ecosystem. This is an energy pyramid. Energy in the ecosystem can be depicted in the form of a food pyramid or energy pyramid. Food pyramid has a large base of plants called producers. The pyramid has a narrower middle section that depicts the herbivorous animals, which are called first order consumers. The apex depicts the small biomass of carnivorous animals called second order consumers. Man is one of the animals at the apex of the pyramid. To support mankind, there must be a large base of herbivorous animals and an even greater quantity of plant material. Thank you.